Hello, everyone. Welcome to our monthly debates. Today, we'll be talking about inner pacification. Thank you very much for your participation. If you've got any question to ask, please use the comment section here on your side, and we'll be answered them, right? Inner pacification is a very important topic as we live in society, interacting with different kinds of people. And we aim really to evolve in our interrelationships. But before anything else, it's important to mention here the principle of disbelief, right? Don't believe in anything, not even in what we say here in our program. Experiment, have your own experiences. To talk about inner pacification today, let me introduce you to the team. Karina Eliashar, thank you for coming to Let's Talk About It today.
Hello, hi everyone. Hi Mario, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, to be back discussing this subject.
We also have Cecil Schoenemann.
Hello everyone. So also a pleasure to be here and discuss topics about inner pacification. Very nice.
Very nice, Cecil. Thank you for coming. And João Saravia. Welcome, John.
Hey, hello everyone. Hello Mario, hello Cicero and Karina. Thanks again for inviting me, for having me here, and especially to talk about peace and conflict. These are my favorite topics. So I'm very happy to be here with you today.
Very nice, John. Thank you, Karina, Cecil, and João. Let's begin. But before starting our conversation, I'd like to say something. Our conversation is based on conscientiology, right? And conscientiology is a neuroscience that studies the consciousness as a whole, right? Conscious is me, you, any human being here in a physical dimension or in other dimensions, of course. Our studies of the consciousness as a whole is based on 7 pillars of the consciential paradigm. It's important to mention here the pillars. Bioenergies, right? Multidimensionality, living multi-dimensions in different dimensions, not only in the intraphysical dimensions, but several of them. The bioenergies is our bioenergies, right? Pluri-existentiality, considering that we have retro lives, other lives other than this one, that current one. Self-research, very important pillar for us to study ourselves. Cosmoethics, also. Universalism, and whole soma. Okay, so these are the pillars on which the consciential paradigm is based. Conscientiology has 20 conscientiocentric institutions, each of them specialized in a subject of research. ACP, our institution, is an institution specialized in the study, research, development, and the practical use of parapsychism, an indispensable attribute for a consciential evolution, right? And ACP in English project is a project focused on promoting the ideas of conscientiology and the study of the parapsychism worldwide. Okay, people, so let's talk about inner pacification. If you got any question, anytime you have your questions, please write down in the comment section that will be answered. Then once more, I say that because your participation is very important and we really like to interact with people watching us at this moment, right? I would start with something that John Lennon said, let's give peace a chance, which is a title of a song. So every say, let's give peace a chance, we have to start having this in ourselves, in our intraconscientiality, right? Because if we don't make the first step to have this pacification inside us, inside our intraconscientiality, that will be very good to find it anywhere else. So I would like to start this conversation with my fellows here by asking how important it is for us to start taming our instincts, working out our weak traits, right, in order to reach a more balanced state of being, state of feeling, state of thinking, right? I would start with Karina. Karina, how important it is for us to stop to think about it and give it its special attention in order to improve our interactions.
I think it's very important. It's the essence of life, because if we don't look inside us to solve our issues, our conflicts, it will make it hard or difficult for us to have a life in group, in our jobs, in our families, in the society that we live in, because we will be in permanent conflict with other people. So it's difficult to have the things that we want, to do the work that we need to do. We are only manifesting the worst part of ourselves and bringing disharmony to other people. So we are bringing pain. When we have inner pain, even if we don't want to, we pass it to other people through our energies, our state of mind. So if we want to begin to solve some issues of the humanity, we first should start with ourselves. Because if we are feeling better or feeling good with ourselves, we will pass this on to other people as well. This is something I think, and when I see in families, it happens a lot. For instance, a couple have children and they have fights or they are not feeling well about themselves, they will pass this on to the children, and we have this burden inside us because our parents suffered. It goes from generation to generation. And how can we solve or stop this from going on? Just like you said, working on our weak traits, investing in self-research, so in order to have peace, inner peace.
Very good.
Yeah, I totally agree with Karina. I think she mentioned very important aspects that we need also to do this type of self-confrontation, to perceive what are the points that will be important for us to develop, and basically also to try to understand ourselves, what type of reactions we have when we have these reactions, or sometimes also if we are comfortable with ourselves, just like this. For example, if you stay a weekend entirely in house and alone, are you in peace? This is a type of question we can do just to make a reflection. How is our behavior? There are some people that starts to be agitated if they're even if they're alone. So it's silence, it's calm, seems to be everything in a good condition to have good inner pacification. But sometimes exactly this causes a discomfort. And then I think it's a starting point also for reflection. What is the point? What is with myself, for example, that I can try to understand better in a way that I keep comfortable with myself? So this is a starting point. And also with good humor. I think good humor is quite interesting in this entire process, so that we have the confrontation with the daily routine in harmony, in a way that we think things are fun, things are nice, we like to do the things. So this is something that I think is also a starting point for us to think about this subject.
Very good, Cicero.
Oh, great. Well, what can I add to this, to what has already been said? I was thinking here, maybe some examples, but to start with is I think it's important to mention that it's like the inner peace, or to be in balance, is not an end state. It's not a destination that you arrive and you're there forever, right? It's a constant work of building this balance. It's a dynamic balance. You will be in different situations throughout your daily life, and those many things might take you out of balance. You might be hungry, or you might be in stress to arrive somewhere and you're late. Someone might tell you something that you don't agree, and it's something that is important to you. And so we're all the time in situations that might balance or take us out of that inner balance. So conflict itself will happen all the time, and conflict is not good or bad. It just happens every time. Every second we're in conflict. Should I be doing this that I'm doing right now, or should I be doing something else? Should I eat this sweet thing, or should I not eat this sweet thing because I'm on a diet? So we're having conflicting situations all the time. And the thing is, it's not good or bad. It's what you do with that conflict, and how you deal with that conflict is what will bring you difficult or good situations. Out of conflicts, many good stuff and a lot of evolution and better ways of living, and better ways of finding what we want to do may happen. Or you can just respond violently. With physical violence, but even not with physical violence, but being violent to other people, and oppressive and all of that, because you're in conflict. So I think that one of the things that are important is, if we are feeling good about ourselves, if we know why are we here and now and doing what we are doing, if we try to do the things that we like, being aware of all the circumstances that might limit in the things that we are doing, then you might be in a more peaceful inner peace state, that you can deal with that conflict in a better way. So just to go to examples is, sometimes just a very simple comment by someone might really make you react violently to that comment, and just responding or offending that other person. But if you're in a good day, that you're feeling good, maybe you're in love, or I don't know, something happened, like everything, any problem that appears in your life, you'll just say, yeah, I can handle that. I can deal with that. So the problems are the same. It's just how you are is that will make a difference in how you react to those problems. So trying to know yourself, and trying to be in that inner peace state, that will help you a lot in propagating and replicating that same peace around, because then you respond better to those conflicts that will happen all the time, and you don't just put violence into the system, but in the contrary, you just respond in a more peaceful way to things, and then that propagates around.
Very good, Sean. Yeah, I'll make some comments about what you have just said. But before, I'm going to mention here the first comment that appears in our comment section from Nelly Vieira, right? Nelly said, Nelly, thank you for participation. Very good to have you here. Nelly says, on the topic of inner communication, for me, Rosemary Sally's book, Consciousness in Evolution, helped me to understand that the revolution was eternal. That's a good thing to to start with, right? Because we have talked about it, but I would like to say something after what João said, because when we know that we know what is something peaceful, we know what is something conflicting, we know what is something annoying, upsetting, the way we feel, right? But what would make us one way, choose one way from the other? It's like, I want to be in a peaceful state. I want to be in peace with myself. And it rides a lot on the values you have, right? What values do you have? Do you really pursue to have a very healthy relationship with people or not? Or that's fine to be aggressive. That's fine to be politically incorrect. That's fine to be rude and crass with people. So then we have to make this internal decision. What do I own to me? So it rides a lot on our attitude, Karina. And let's talk about this a bit. The attitude, the first choice. I choose to be in peace. That has to do a lot with our intention to start working out these weak traits towards pacification.
Yes, Mario. I think it has to do also with self-reflection and self-awareness, because most of the people, I think they don't have it. They hurt other people without even knowing they are hurting other people. Like João said, sometimes we hear a comment, and I think, I'm not sure if it was João or Cicero now, Cicero said about the reaction. And when there's a comment toward us and it affects us, triggers us, our weak traits. Yes, sometimes people don't even mean to hurt us, but they do, with some maybe prejudice, or maybe they even intend to harm us with the words. Some words may really hurt us as well. And sometimes we just do it all the time because we don't have the self-reflection. We don't even pay attention to what we are doing to other people, to the people that live with us. Sometimes because of not only the values that we develop or were passed to us by the families or school, but also by the examples that we have. So if we want to make things different, we may search for good examples and also rethink our values and our behaviors, our thoughts, our energies, and how we can impact other people in a different manner, and to leave a good path to other people, a good trail of energies. And how can we do this? Because sometimes we get upset. Sometimes we have to stand up for ourselves. Sometimes we can let it go. And sometimes I will choose my conflicts. João was saying about the conflict. Sometimes it's not even worth it. So we just let it go and wait for another time. But sometimes we just can't do it. We have to speak up. We have to do something. And maybe we will have some conflicts, but we can choose how to react. And it's a process. Sometimes we'll be very angry, very upset. Other times we will be sad. And also, I think it depends on the moment of our life. As João was saying, I remember last semester, I was arriving here in Portugal, a lot of things happening in my life. It was like I got out of surgery, something like that. I was still healing. All my wounds were opened, and every little thing some people would say, it would trigger a lot in me because I was fragile. And now I am more altogether, so I have more. The same comment will not harm me anymore because now I'm in a better condition, I would say like that. So how we interact with other people of the society reflects our inner state. This is something that, and also the self-research, self-reflection.
I think this is quite important because when we deal with problems and conflicts, we know that sometimes this is part of the our routine. Sometimes we have some problems that we need to solve. There are conflicts that we face. We need also to harmonize and things like this. But I think it's very important for us to understand to not have only problems and only conflicts. And it's very important to have some buffer, more or less like Karina was mentioning, that now she's in a condition that she has a type of buffer. If comes a conflict, she can harmonize. She has enough stability to deal with it in a very calm, in a very organized way. Maybe she also can have some time to spend on it and things like this, because then that conflict or a problem, sometimes when we have it, can be our priority to solve and to harmonize everything again. So this, I think, has a strong connection to inner pacification. When we have this ability to observe problems and conflicts that may be in our surroundings, but we can also think how to deal with it. I think things get worse when that's something that we really don't know how to start to solve things, and so seems that sometimes are problems in all aspects. I think more or less also João has presented to us that sometimes one thing can also interfere in others. So if you have one problem here, maybe in the job, maybe this will affect your family life, your also research. If you wanted to read a book, maybe you are not calm enough to read the book and understand what is written on the book or things like this, because your head is dealing with other things, is not in an inner pacification. So I think this is are important aspects also to think how we can keep our life in a better harmony, in a better way, that we also know that we have some buffer. If something happens, we are ready to act or ready to do something proactively in a way, and keeping the harmony, not exploding everything. So this is the opposite of what we really want. Okay, so this is something that's good, um, to find the best way to keep everything more or less stable. We know sometimes there will be some issues that can take a little bit more for us, but it's important for us to think this as also a priority whenever possible, to get balance again as soon as possible. That's it.
João, would you like to say something?
Um, yeah, yeah, and agreeing to this, and I also saw the question that is there in the chat, and I'm trying to drive to that. Um, so agree and reinforcing what Karina and Cicero have said. I think it's one thing that is important to understand is that peace is an interpretation, right? There's nothing that is static as, oh, this is peace. We can actually say what is conflict because there's a dispute or something going on, but it's hard to define what peace is. We usually start by saying, well, it's when there's no conflict. Okay, but then when there's no conflict, what is there? And we don't come up with the definition for that. But the best I can say, it's interpretation. So, for example, when I look at the window that is in front of me, I see a lake with ducks and a swan and trees and birds, and that brings me like to a state of, oh, this is a peaceful image, right? But the trees, the ducks, the swans, the lake, they don't know they're peaceful. Actually, I see people that are giving food to the ducks and they kind of fight with each other. So if you look into the details, it's not that peaceful at all. It's just my interpretation to that image that I have there. So to have peace, you need someone that is feeling peace. You need someone that's interpreting peace. All right. Second problem, in English and most of the and all of the European languages, including Portuguese, peace is a singular. So we tend to interpret peace as one thing, but it's not, right? It's just people came out with this word and say, okay, this is peace. But then you're talking about inner peace, which is more like a feeling. And then when you talk about wars and violence, you say, okay, we're talking about peace and conflict, but it's not the same thing. One thing might lead to the other for sure, but it's not the same thing. It's all in a really huge topic. And I want to drive again to the thing of interpretation. So when we talk about the values, for example, that you were bringing up, most of people want security, they want life, they want respect, they do not want to be offended, and things like that. But how do you interpret what is security? What is being alive? What is offending? What is respecting? Then people have very different interpretations to that. That can be very, very different depending on which of these persons was raised and how do they interpret life, or it can be a bit similar. So it's really important that we understand that sometimes when people say something, they're not trying to offend you. It's just how they interpret that thing, and you have a different interpretation for that same thing. Then you might think it's an offense to you, or maybe a compliment to you. Something that they wanted to offend you. Say, well, actually, I like to be that way that you're saying. It looks like you want to offend me, but I'm happy to hear that. And when we come to topics like the elections, the political situation of Brazil, and all of that, I think it's really important that we understand that nobody wants to be the bad guy or the bad gal or whatever. Nobody wants to be evil or something like that. Well, I understand that most of people, I don't know if everybody, but most of people, they don't want to be the evil or the bad. They just want things that they believe are the good thing for everybody. And if we start from that, we try to understand, okay, where are they coming from? Why do they understand and they interpret that thing is what is respect, or that is peace, or that is, and then you might be able to have a conversation. But then going to the buffer thing, which and the healing and knowing yourself and what is your situation at the moment, I think that is very important, because if you want to engage in a conversation to understand someone else's point of view, and to be open to at least respect what they're saying, even if you don't agree to that, or even be open to change a bit your mind, you need that buffer. You need energy. And then you come to the topic of, I think there are two main things there, which is one is, do you have energy for that at that moment? Because being open to that and having those discussions, they take a lot of energy. It's much easier to just label it like bad, evil, and I don't want to talk to that. But if you want to take those labels out and really engage on a conversation, you will spend a lot of energy on that, trying to understand and trying to make your point as well. So are you in the point of doing that? Are you in a moment in your life where you have that energy to spend and you have that buffer? If you don't, then just go away of every conflict, not just the political situation, but most of the conflicts that might be hard for you. And the second one is competence. Is that a topic in which you are open to change your mind? Is that a topic that you really understand about it and can have a very deep conversation about it? If it's not, maybe then it's also a waste of time. So why engaging on that? So choosing if that's the moment is one real important thing to keep inner peace. Second, knowing if you have competence for that or not is another good topic, good point to think about if you're going to engage in that conversation, be able to keep your inner peace. And I think the last thing to wrap it up is you can choose other topics to engage with people. Most of the people that you interact to, I'm sure that I don't know, I could just a thumb guess. I would say that 90% of the topics, if you engage on them, it's going to be all right. So you can choose to engage on those topics. If you see that you don't have the competence or you don't have the buffer to talk about it, but you have to just engage on those other topics, because people are not evil by definition. They probably want the same things that you want, they just interpret them differently. So have those and live those values that you agree with in topics that you can agree, if you're not ready for a discussion. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Very well said, John. Very nice. Well, we would just continue with this topic that what we have just said. But let me show one question coming from the comment section. Oh, Philip Briggs is here with us. Thank you, Philip, for your participation. Ani Karini, the question is, what can we do? Well, let me just show this. Right. What can we do not to get into a big bubble of negativeness and aggressiveness in a country? For example, the Brazilian elections, that people are now fighting and be aggressive. How can be a way? I think João has just talked about it, partially answering this question, right? But Karina, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with what João said. I think we should have this overview of the situation. We have a word in Portuguese. It's like when we are flying and we can see from the top. So we have all the pieces together. So we are not in the middle of the fight. We are flying over it, something like that. So we have a broader view of the conflict. And we can also act like a peace agent. So we don't affect the conflict with our negative energies. We have the clear vision, so we can help people get also a clear vision. So I will not engage with fights. We have now everybody complaining about the WhatsApp family groups fight, because and also with friends, when people have different opinion and they don't want to listen to the arguments of the other people. They just want to be heard, and we think we are right and we have the better vision. So it usually ends up in conflicts. So one thing is to have this broader view. Other is if it is hurting you, so you don't listen to the news so often. You just listen like 15, 20 minutes per day to have the notion of what's going on. Or I don't even listen. I choose what I'm going to read. I read some articles and that's it. So it doesn't affect me. And I'm also informed of what's going on. And also, I think the big part of the problem is when we have to live together with people that think differently. That's the problem with the families. Even if we don't live, we come visit, and like you're staying the whole Sunday, and all of a sudden people are fighting and the energy is not well. We should do our energetic maneuvers and send best thoughts and don't engage with the fight. Otherwise, we will not be able to help them to stop this fight. And usually I think some people are very aggressive and they don't even know they are. That's their way of talking or engaging in conversations. Everything's very bad. The government is very bad. And they just want to complain. We need to be in another kind of bubble, the bubble where we have this self-defense, this energetic bubble that we can create for ourselves and not engage in the middle of this.
Yes, and Cecil, you've been spending a while in Brazil right now, but you live in Germany, right? So how do you see this? Because the country is a bit nervous at the moment, as the question from Annie, right? I've been dealing with a very difficult situation. How do you see this moment in Brazil as we are talking about inner pacification, right? Or how do you see this moment in Brazil? How do you feel the country?
Interesting question. I'd like only to clarify for maybe somebody that's not very connected to these elections outside of Brazil. We are in a Saturday now, and tomorrow will be the elections for president in Brazil and some other governors. But it's like an important election, and there is a big division in the country, one group and another group. So there are two different groups with two different opinions, and this is a big debate. But of course, there is a big bubble of something that people are aggressive with one another. They don't agree with the ideas and things like this. But what I perceive mainly during this last week is really a very intense energetic pressure. So what I'm doing with this, I really need to rest more. I have much more time of resting, of sleeping, and I'm trying to get in as much as possible in a good balance with my energies. And not only this, there is one more aspect. There is also in this bubble that we say that's more negative than positive. When it comes to a lot of people uh, debating and things, much likely it's more negative than positive. This is the tendency in general. It's not so common to have a big group of people, millions of people in harmony debating things. Many times it comes to more to the conflict than to the harmony. So one important thing is also to have some connections with, I could say, extraphysical consciousness that could be a more, could have a more general overview of what's going on, and also maybe they are also working to make things more pacified. This in conscientiology we call this type of consciousness, this group of consciousness like helpers. Um, but there is also the other extraphysical consciousness that are like intruders, that they really like these conflicts and they really put their effort to have more and more conflicts. So um, this when I say this, just to clarify a little bit for those who are not very familiar to conscientiology. So basically we understand that there are more dimensions, not only the physical dimensions, but there are also extra physical dimensions. And people that die in this interphysical life, they really do not die as consciousness. They continue living in the extra physical dimension. So this group of consciousness is what I'm just saying now, that there are some people in this group that are more, I could say, they have a wide overview, they have a higher level of maturity, of balance, and many times they also interact with the big problems or big situations that the interphysical dimension is dealing with. Like in this case, there is a lot of participation of extraphysical consciousness in this moment, in this type of situation. And of course, there is a big opportunity for us to connect more with this extraphysical consciousness that have a better overview. What's going on? How should be a more interesting movement, the next step that should be interesting. And this maybe we can try to keep our energies in a balanced way, also to interact in harmony with this consciousness. So this is the situation I perceive. But just quickly answering your first question that I already mentioned, I perceive like a bubble, a dangerous bubble that can have quite big problems. Also, I think next week will be a hard week. So I think we need to be very prepared to keep our harmony and to be helpful as much as possible with giving our contribution to keep things more in harmony in a state that the things will get better. Yeah, so that happens the better for everyone. This is the general idea. Maybe we can think, not only thinking on only ourselves when it's a big cause. Maybe we it's good to have this overview, try to give to be a little bit away of our personal point of view, but try to understand the general overview.
Very nice. We have a comment here from Nerly Vieira. Thanks, considering that we are universalist consciences and citizens of the cosmos. Let us continue to qualify our peaceful participation. Yeah, just having a comment here, neatly. Yes, as we were talking about this polarization, or actually not specific in this moment, right, of the country, but as a whole, because we're not talking about something specific, but we're talking about um, the way we interact with people, our attitudes towards people, the way we behave, and so on. Joel, the thing is, the human beings appeared on Earth about 2.5 million years ago. It's a long time ago. But only, I was watching an interview with someone, and he was talking about inner pacification. And one thing that he mentioned really caused me, interest, which is he said the word tolerance appeared, or the word tolerance was coined only. Listen, the human beings are on the planet for 2.5 million years, for 2.5 million years, and only 300 years ago, the word tolerance was heard for the first time. So, and it's important to mention this, right? Because if we go from tolerance, we will certainly reach comprehension. Let's talk about this, the word tolerance, because if you are tolerant, we'll be more able. Can I say that? We will be able to comprehend, even though we know that there are differences between the two words. Could you talk about this?
Sure, sure. Oh, it's interesting to know that that word is so recent. Um, but I don't know. If you think about millions of years ago, and at the state that we as humanity were, I mean, there were lots of insecurities and reasons to not feeling safe, right? And we built mechanisms to cope with that. So even our physiology responds to when we feel unsafe in a certain way that our ancestors reacted. Although when we feel unsafe, it's usually not something that's very a life-threatening situation, but still we react the same way. So it's also important in that thing of knowing ourselves that we know that kind of thing. So you have that expression of the fight or flight or freeze, right? So when you're in a life-threatening situation, or you're under stress, your body will react in a way that you're on prepared to fight with all that adrenaline, or to flight, so you just run away from that situation, or you freeze because you don't know how to react. um, that was a reaction from our ancestors, and because of that we made it until today. So that's, we're very grateful to have those kinds of reactions. The thing is, if you're in a meeting where someone says something that you feel unsafe for some reason, like, oh, I can lose my job, or someone in a family discussion says something that about, I don't know, a candidate that you don't like, and you feel, okay, my life will not be better if that thing that that person is saying happens, and you might feel also insecure. Your physiology reacts in the same way as you were in a life threatening situation, and then you will become aggressive. You're ready to fight. You're a body that learns how to fight, and you're gonna be by definition aggressive. So if you know that, you can try to disengage from that situation, and even just knowing that, okay, I know I have my body's feeling like that. This is how I'm feeling the vibe around. Sometimes people don't even have to say things. So if you're are more open to feeling the energies of the place and stuff like that, you might become in that physiological situation where you're ready to fight. You don't even know why. No one has said anything. So you know that the vibe there is not good. And you may choose again to disengage from that. Going to the tolerance word, I think it has to do a lot with that interpretation, right? So people have different interpretations to the same facts, maybe, and one might feel this is good, the other might feel that that's a bad thing. And to tolerate another interpretation, it's usually a good thing. I wouldn't say it's always a good thing, and here is like where I draw the line is if some kind of behavior is a behavior that will disable or will impede that other behaviors that are healthy happen, then there's something to look at. So there are extreme situations that we have lived throughout history that show that only accepting one thing and you tolerating people only accepting one thing might be something very dangerous to be tolerant. And that's where I draw the line and say, hey, I'm not going to be tolerant to that. You don't have to go to extremes, but there are situations in our daily life as well that you say, okay, this is very unrespectful, this is oppressive, and I'm not going to tolerate that. But just a different point of view on something that is not going to harm anyone, so fine with it, and let's be more tolerant and understanding of other people's point of view and see where they're coming from.
Very nice. Okay, we have any other comments? People, if you have comments, please write your comments here in the comment section or ask your questions, right? We'll be answering them, right? Karina, as we're just following this idea, right? As João said, the thing is, what I have from it is it's always a matter of self-awareness or to choose what we want, right? And it rides a lot on how clear we have these values of pacification, because it may sound like, inner pacification may sound like something distant from us, right? But it's not. If we start questioning ourselves, and when we start questioning ourselves, I just want to talk about the first step that we might have towards this pacification is to use our logical possibilities, our reason to think about and analyze what we really want to us, regarding our interactions with other people. What kind of interactions do I want to make? What kind of relationship do I have? And when we have the reason, the logic, we are more able to reflect upon it instead of let the emotions out and let the emotions manage our relationship. So how important, and I'd like you to talk about this, how important it is to start using the reason and the logic for us to choose the best way instead of giving too much, weight to emotions, which definitely won't help us to control our instincts.
Yes, I think what Cicero said was really important, because not only to use the reflection, how we see things, but also the energies, the parapsychism, and he felt that the energies in the country are very different. It's not stable, so he's more at home, he's resting more. There's the tension is in the air. It's so dense that we can, if there was a scissor, we could cut the tension in the air, because the energies are really how can I say, a flor da pele. It's like what's the expression, like everybody's,
it's very vulnerable, I'd say.
I think everybody's so vulnerable, and we have to protect ourselves. Sometimes we have to have this discernment to know where we can go, and sometimes it's really dangerous, like there's a war outside, I will not leave my shelter. And sometimes the war is energetic, I will leave the house, but I'll be very aware of what I say, if I'm in an argument with somebody, because it will give me so much trouble to de-assimilate the energy. So it's like you are very cautious. And I think Brazil is in that moment. Iran also, we have many protests there going on. We have the war here in Europe. So I think if we start to look the different Holophosines, the set of thoughts, energies, and sentiments that are around the world, it's a very difficult time. But I think now Saturday and tomorrow in Brazil, even more. And when we change Holophosines, we can have this clearer vision. So we have to know our time to speak, what we are going to say, when we are going to listen, and be aware of our insights. I was telling before the program today, the show, this live, that a friend of mine said, I had an insight, I will stay home tonight. I will not leave the house. So it's important to know our extra physical needs. I'll rest more. I will exteriorize more energies in order to try to help these contexts. I think that's an important tool, the self-awareness and also the parapsychism, to read the room, read the energies from the environments, from the Holophosines as well.
There is a word in English that is edgy, right? People are very edgy today. It's on the edge of something, it's irritable. It's very easily put upset. So, yeah. We have a question here, Cicero. Let me show you this question coming up now. Are there any techniques to improve our inner pacification? Question from Jairo Meirelles. Thank you, Jairo, for your participation.
Hello, Jairo. Well, I could say there is a big group of techniques, and not. I don't think there is one very specific technique only for this purpose. Usually, there are more general techniques, because this subject is like a subject that takes. They have contacts with many aspects of our life. So there are some aspects. I think one very good thing is really to learn to work with your energies. When you are balanced with energies, usually this helps you to have this type of buffer that we have mentioned before, to have a little bit more flexibility to deal with the situations. It's like that you do not receive impacts so strong. You have you will be more how I can say, with energy, balance with your energies, also to assimilate things that comes from outside from yourself, and then you harmonize these things. So before it really touching you directly, so you can really keep things more in a more calm way, without reaction aggressively. So basically, you can have more reactions in harmony. And how you work, how are the techniques for you to work with energies? There is quite a lot of techniques. You can search more in many institutions or courses or videos of conscientiology. But basically, one very interesting technique is really to know how to make the movements of energies from the top of the head to the bottom of the foot, and then do this, what they show here in the screen, that's we call the vibrational state. Additionally to this, there are other aspects. It's not exactly a technique, but it's a way of understanding better our life. There is one aspect that is connected to inner pacification, that is when you are connected to the things you planned to do in this life. So, for example, if you are, some people, they have the life very beautiful looking from the outside. They have a family, they have money, they have a house, they go to vacations. Seems that everything, in many aspects, could they have a good job. Seems that everything could be perfect from the outside, but they, with themselves, sometimes they are not very comfortable. There's something that's not right in their lives, and now people know this. And how they know? because this is what we call connected to our project of life, our we call, there is a word that is proaxis that's related to this, that's the existential program. But this is when you keep attention to your internal signs of what really you need to do in this life. What is the important things is for you to do in this life? When people are connected to this, when people give attention to this, many times they can be balanced in this way. I think I lose the sign. I'm not sure if I'm online again. Um, I think I'm still online. Not sure. Good. So this is one point. And there are techniques also for you to discover more what is your plan of life and things like this. So these are starting points. And then I think maybe Joan has can share also some other techniques for pacification, conflicts, and things. I don't know if you want to share something, Joan.
Sure, sure. But I think that you said it all during not only in this interaction, but in the previous one. So, first, I want to highlight that as well. That like first, taking care of your body, right? So, sleep well, eat well, know the things that make your body tired, and the things that don't bring stress to your body, and try to always live with the things that don't bring too much stress to your body. So I think that the whole point is creating that buffer, right? If you create buffer, then you can think about you can react better to things. Also, the energies. So there are these energetic techniques that we can do, and there are plenty of them, because we're not just physical beings. We're energetic beings as well, and we have different bodies. You can say that, and take care of your thoughts as well. So what are you thinking? And because you will propagate and you will react in that tune. So if you're tuning in to helpers, for example, it's with the things that you're thinking. That's the things that you're wanting to do, you're planning to do. What is it that you're thinking in that moment? Is this a positive thing for you? Is it a negative thing? How do you feel about it? And that's how you're gonna tune in to the energies and the consciousness that are around you, either they're physical or not. So taking care about what you're thinking is also good. And I mean, I'm just talking about like regular things that you can do. Of course, if you have been into some deep trauma and things like that, then of course you need medical help, and you need professional help to also overcome these things, and so that you can change even how you react to stuff. You can change what triggers you. You can change your thoughts and everything like that. So you might need, depending on the situation that you are, also some professional help with that. But so considering and assuming that you have not been to deep trauma and that sort of difficulty, then really it's just taking care about your body, your energies, and your thoughts. That will help you a lot.
Very nice. Karina, do you have any suggestions? Or
Yeah, I would say to recycle or change the things you are no longer happy or satisfied about. So if your work is not great anymore, you don't like what you're doing professionally, you can change jobs. You don't like your house, your marriage, some of your friends. You make some changes in your life. Also, it's gonna bring you some calm as well, maybe some peace. But most of the main points, change yourself, the things you're no longer happy about. But sometimes maybe if you change the environment, your routine, it will help you as well.
that's interesting. Professor Ford once said that if you are someone who, uh, if you reflect, if you think over the situations, if you use the logic, you you will reach pacification faster than someone who doesn't. Because if, as I said, if you use the logic, the reasoning, the the thinking to analyze and see exactly your attitudes when they are good or bad, so you are more you are watching actually what you need to change. There is one technique that I'd like to mention. Of course, it's not a very common technique. It's a very specific in conscientiology, but it's very helpful for you to reach pacification, which is Penta, right? Penta is a multidimensional, daily, personal, energetic task that consists of a technical transmission of consciential energies by an intraphysical consciousness. What does it mean? It means that I choose to do Penta, right? So I single out one time, for example, at the same time every day, and I externalize my energies for 50 minutes, right? It's a lifetime technique, it's a lifetime practice, but it works a lot on our own energies, on our evolution in a multidimensional scenario. So I think that Penta is very good for us to start to tame our instincts, right? And see exactly what we need to do, how we need to do, and be helped by helpers from extra physical environment, right? So I think Penta is worth mentioning here. People, unfortunately, we have come to our time. We have to say goodbye now, and saying that we see you next month in November 26th to talk about parapsychism and leadership, right? In our next Let's Talk. Let me just say parapsychism, just to show you parapsychism. Okay, let's talk about the parapsychism and leadership on November 26th. And if you are a first time here, parapsychism is the set of advanced para-perceptions of consciousness in addition to the 5 basic senses of the human body, right? It's when we transcend our perceptions to all the dimensions beyond this one we live in. Thank you very much, Karina, for your participation, your wrapping up words.
Thank you so much for this debate. It was very helpful for my reflections as well. Hope to see you in the next ones. Bye.
Thank you. Cicero. You are muted.
I was very short, saying that thank you very much, and thank you. Keep connected.
Yeah, just saying what I said in the beginning, inner peace, and peace is not an ending state. It's a constant work. So yeah, keep the discipline and yeah, keep your peace as much as you can. And thank you for the opportunity.
Nice.
Mario.
Very nice, people. Thank you very much for your participation. I hope that our conversation will help you change your attitudes that needs to be changed, right? And for you to improve your relationship and interaction with other people. This is what we are pursuing in this life, to evolve and have a better interaction with people, right? People, thank you very much once again. Have a nice weekend. Bye-bye. And that's that.